Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Whenever and wherever you're listening to this podcast, you are very welcome. Welcome to Rugby News, the podcast about our town, our people. We'll kick off with a roundup of local news local to rugby with the help of the excellent local newspapers, the Rugby Observer and the Rugby Advertiser. In this week's show, podcast number 15, released on Friday the 28th of February, we hear about upcoming fairs and festivals, more good news for our library, and the steamy drama that is set for the stage of Rugby Theatre. No What's On section, I'm afraid, this week. No time. But I do have for you a delightful interview with Stephen Wright, a lovely guy who is the group leader of the rugby group of volunteers who, as part of Warwickshire Wildlife Trust, look after a huge stretch of the Great Central Walk, one of rugby's best-kept secrets. We hear about the objectives of their work, some of the issues they face, and some interesting ideas for its development with a lowercase d. Oh, and some frogs. And so, without further ado, here's our news. And the first of two announcements about upcoming fairs and festivals. Rugby Spring Fair is finally back after it was first cancelled due to the coronavirus pandemic. Celebrations are taking place on Bank Holiday Monday, May the 5th at Whitehall Recreation Ground, where it always was. Guests are being urged to dress up in red, white and blue to mark the 80 years since the end of World War II. The fair is being organised by 3 Rotary clubs in rugby, Rugby Heritage Lions Club and Rugby Round Table and Rugby's 41 Club. A wonderful example of collaboration. Well done, I do love a spring fair. And another event that I know we all love, confirmation it's happening this year and the information about when. Get your motor running, head out on the highway. The date for this year's Rugby Bike Fest has been announced and the ever-popular Town Centre event, now in its 11th year, will take place between 10:30 and 4 p.m. on Sunday, May the 18th. In your diaries, Sunday, May the 18th. As in previous years, the Bike Fest, organised by Rugby First, Rugby Borough Council and local motorcycling groups, will feature bike displays, stalls, live music, children's activities, a fun fair, food, cars and arena displays. It will also begin with the now traditional ride-in, with hundreds of bikes entering the town centre in convoy. The town loves a festival, and this is guaranteed to be another huge success. Sunday, May the 18th, 10:30 till 4. More good news for our library, following the news last week that the proposal to close them on a Sunday has been cancelled. And this extra good news comes in the form of their selection as finalists for Library of the Year at the British Book Awards 2025. 36 finalists have been selected across the UK, with 2 coming from Warwickshire, Rugby, and the joint entry from Stratford and Ulster Libraries. On the 12th of March, one of those will be selected to be the Midlands region winner and go forward to the final stages. The overall national winner will be announced at the British Book Awards ceremony in May. Now, our councillor Yusuf Damash from Warwickshire County Council said, "I would like to extend my congratulations to all our staff that work so hard to deliver such an enriching and vibrant library service offer." Absolutely, Yusuf, echo you 100%. They play an important role in our communities to bring people together, share knowledge, encourage creativity and support with residents' needs. And it's fantastic that the work of Warwickshire Libraries is being recognised in this way. The Library of the Year Awards recognises libraries for their innovation, collaborations with publishers, businesses and other partners, and their ability to establish themselves as vital reading hubs that support local needs within their communities. The award can recognise individual libraries as well as work done across library districts. Well, go Rugby Library, well done. Congratulations, best of luck on the 12th of March. Up to 600 new jobs are coming to Coventry after logistics company DHL opened a new £230 million e-commerce hub in the city yesterday. That's Thursday, February the 27th. 600 new jobs. Surely some of those will be filled by people from rugby. The hub, the size of around 4 football pitches, is based near Coventry Airport and apparently can handle up to 1 million parcels a day. The hub's going to be able to speed up delivery times for UK customers, and the location where it is very nicely situated in the middle of what they call the Golden Triangle. And apparently the theory is if you establish a high reputation quality business in a particular area, it's going to attract others to the same area as well. So maybe this is a catalyst. It's clearly going to be part of a big future of logistics, say the senior management. There's more and more goods travelling around the world, and this hub is going to be a really big part of that. Buses are going to be arranged to take people in and out of the city centre at the right times for their shifts. It's all part of the company's wider £482 million investment in the UK. That's got to be good news. The hub provides EV charging points, 7,000 square metres of solar panels along with LED lighting, minimising the site's environmental impact and preserving the area's natural biodiversity. Thank you very much, DHL. If you're a water company, you must be getting used to being pilloried, but perhaps Severn Trent deserve a little pat on the back for the following news. They have confirmed they've completed 1,500 engineering projects ahead of schedule and have now unveiled further plans to fast-track the delivery of another 600 improvement projects to reduce the use of storm overflows. This will bring the number of upgrades, including stormwater tanks to hold rainwater and new solutions to treat wastewater, to an industry-leading 2,100 projects by autumn 2025. Severn Trent has also confirmed that now 1,500 permanent improvements are installed, the average amount of spills from storm overflows is expected to fall by over 25% by December this year. And with another record year of rain and a hike in extreme weather events, the work is estimated to have resulted in around 24,000 spills from stormwater overflows being prevented across the region in 2024. This podcast gets released on a Friday, and today, the 28th of February, let's hope the weather isn't too chilly overnight. That's because many brave souls are joining the annual Sleep Out to Help Out fundraiser in the car park at the top of Newbold Road next to the Hope 4 building. Every February, Hope 4 challenge the people of Rugby to sleep out on a cold winter's night to get a slight glimpse of what it would be like to be homeless. They see youth groups, community groups, businesses and friends joining together to raise funds to help the work of Hope 4, and this year they're hoping for £10,000 plus. People turn up with bits of cardboard and bits of old blanket and bits of tent and stuff. They do their best to survive the night. They all do survive, but I can guarantee that every single one of them learns a serious lesson. Let's wish them all well, and if you've got a minute, get onto justgiving.com, find the Hope 4 giving page and give them a few quid. This is a news story from a very credible source, and you know, I think it's fair. The latest National Highways and Transport Public Satisfaction Survey has ranked Warwickshire as second out of 29 peer authorities for highway maintenance. The satisfaction survey took account of the condition of pavements, road surfaces and signs, provision and maintenance of street lighting, speed and quality of road and street light repairs, maintenance of highway verges, trees and shrubs, cold weather gritting and snow clearance, and keeping drains clear and functional. Their second place is an improvement of 2 places from last year. Well done, Warwickshire, for rising up the ranks and getting nearer and nearer to being the best. No time, I'm afraid, for an extensive what's on, but I must tell you about the next stage production at Rugby Theatre. It's A Streetcar Named Desire by Tennessee Williams. The curtain goes up for the beginning of the week-long run on March the 8th. It's set in the sultry French Quarter of 1940s New Orleans and tells the story of the fading Southern belle Blanche Dubois, who seeks refuge with her estranged sister Stella away from her turbulent past and the family estate. But Blanche's agitated state and fragile disposition create suspicion in Stella's dominant husband Stanley as they collide in a struggle for Stella's heart. As their simmering feud develops, past truths start to surface and both sisters are driven to choose between fantasy and reality. Director Wendy Kay said this is explosive and immersive theatre like nothing you've ever seen. If you missed the recent West End production, look no further for your fix of fierce emotions, dark secrets and volatile lies mixed with tender feelings and a touch of melancholy. Wendy added, the heat is sweltering, the liquor flows, honky-tonk music permeates the streets and secrets are as thick as the humidity. So pull up a chair and join this high-stakes game of poker. Streetcar Named Desire, Rugby Theatre, running from March the 8th to 15th. Go online to www.rugbytheatre.co.uk or call the box office on 01788 541234. 541234. Now, that was a roundup of the local news stories about our rugby town, and I am indebted to the excellent local papers, the Rugby Observer and the Rugby Advertiser, for all their help. And hey, for even more detail and even more news stories on the days that they happen, go to their websites or follow them on their Facebook pages. And now, this week's Deep Dive interview. You are very welcome to join me less than a mile from the town centre on the Hillmorton Road on a short walk along what was once a very busy railway line connecting the industrial north to London. I'll drop down off the roadway now and join the line of the route, which originally, apparently, was planned to join a tunnel under the sea to the continent. Who'd have thought? Since Dr. Beeching slashed the railways in the 1960s, we don't hear trains anymore. At this time of the year, you can hear this.
It's a lovely sound, isn't it?
It is a lovely sound. Frogs spawning. You might have heard the voice there of Stephen Wright, work party leader of the volunteers at Ashlawn Cutting, who explained how the landscape had changed.
The Great Central Railway, it used to be a continuous meadow from Marylebone to Sheffield. So we're talking 200-mile long grassland. Since the railway closed in 1969, it's become a lot of it's secondary woodland, and what we try and do is we try and maintain a mosaic of habitats. So there are patches of grassland within the secondary woodland. We try and also enhance the quality of the secondary woodland by coppicing, felling, allowing it to regrow, so you get various ages, various heights. And what you'll find is that birds use the edge. Species tend to use the boundaries between different types of habitat, so you will find things in the shelter, in the long grass, on the edge of a bit of grassland, because they can run for cover. And it's important to keep it as varied as possible. That's what we call a mosaic.
Nature, especially in these sorts of linear landscapes through urban areas, needs help to retain a balance for the benefits of the insects, amphibians, mammals, bird life, and of course the humans too, all of whom are wanting to get something from the landscape. Stephen explained the setup.
We are the rugby group of Warwickshire Wildlife Trust. So we are financially independent. We pay our own expenses. We have to pay our own fuel, buy our own machinery. Warwickshire Wildlife Trust provides a certain amount of training. They provide insurance, and they provide some of the personal protective equipment that we need to work safely, i.e. work gloves, hard hats, safety glasses, and they also provide risk assessments, and they also run the recruiting of volunteers. In the first instance, anybody wanting to volunteer contacts Warwickshire Wildlife Trust, and then they send us an email saying, oh, we've got so-and-so interested, please invite them to come to the next work party. But the actual work and the planning of the work and is largely down to us. Some of the volunteers here also volunteer on other sites in Rugby.
Stephen is no stranger to this railway.
I started volunteering here 14 years ago, and I took over from Steve Batt, who was running the work parties down here before then. He moved away. We have to have someone nominally in charge, a leader. We have to have first aiders, and I did the first aid qualification, and I took the Wildlife Trust's training in how to run the work parties, do the paperwork, look at the risk assessments and all that sort of thing. But as far as the planning of what we do goes, that's nominally, people think it's down to me, but basically as a group, because everybody's been coming a long time, we have an idea what we want to do, what we want to achieve, what works, what doesn't work. But it's a big experiment, really. I mean, you mess about with it, you see what happens, and if you get a good result, you do it again.
His relationship with the line goes further back, though.
Well, I remember it as a railway. I used to go to Bournemouth when I was a kid on my holidays, so I caught trains from there.
Well, it was 1897 when it was decided to build it, and it was only 2 years later that they started running the first trains into London. So that's getting some infrastructure built, isn't it? Unlike the HS2 these days. And
unlike HS2, the whole construction was completed within the footprint of the railway. The digging machines ran on the track, ran on temporary tracks that were then replaced by the permanent tracks. As they completed the route, so they excavated the route from within to cut in.
He's only too aware of the challenges the group faces.
So one of the things we want to do is we're trying to run it as a reserve, and there are conflicts with it being run as an amenity. Yeah. So basically we're a conservation group that has been managing the place since 1970. When it closed, to try and keep some of the grassland areas open so the butterflies and insects can thrive, because it's a good site for butterflies down here.
It's not all plain sailing, though.
It has a lot of issues as well, because a lot of the neighbours try to pinch bits of it. They will also throw their garden waste over, some of which are plants that will establish themselves. We've got someone just down the way there who's planted bamboo. So we're going to have to dig it out, which is possibly going to cause a conflict. We get a lot of things like Italian lords and ladies, variegated yellow archangel, snowberry, and we have to try and control that, otherwise it will take over. Laurel, up by the station platform, there was a lot of laurel. I had to get up there on the bank with a chainsaw, and we had to cut that out and treat it with herbicide. What we're trying to do is make this a place where native species can thrive.
One distinctive part of the landscape along the length of the Great Central Walk are the dead hedges. Stephen explained their construction and one of their key uses along the edge of a stretch of swampy water.
It's just lines of stakes with cut willow. We've been coppicing the willow in what was referred to as the marsh. I think technically it's probably a swamp now, because a marsh doesn't have trees, and this has since been colonised by willow and a certain amount of birch. This year we've been coppicing the willow again, and the cut material, well, we're leaving the stumps because the stumps will regenerate growth from the top of them, but the lower part of them are quite rotten. They've got holes in where wrens and things can nest and hide and live. But the cut material we've infilled between lines of stakes, which will probably grow because they're all willow stakes. and it is working as a protective barrier which will help to stop disturbance, because we get a lot of disturbance. A lot of people like to come down here and rather misguidedly they'll encourage their pets to chase wildlife and also to go in the marsh. Now a lot of dogs have flea treatments on, so these chemicals wash off and they will kill water fleas, and they're very, very strong. There's a lot more in one drop of flea treatment than is needed to control the fleas on a dog. It will kill a lot more than that.
I bet many dog owners were unaware of the unintentional side effect of dog flea treatment. Another side effect may have been as unintentional, but very much more damaging. Back to the frog spawn.
At the moment, we have got frogs spawning. This used to be a very good site for frogs spawning. We have counted them for many years, surveyed them, and we used to get regularly over 2,000 frogs down here. The numbers have crashed. What happened was 3 years ago, a regular walker down here spotted a couple of people with large home brew buckets, and they were down here taking away large quantities of the frog spawn. They took probably the majority of it, and since then the frog numbers have never recovered. You can see some moving down there, and if you listen very carefully you'll hear them, but as we get closer they'll feel the vibration from our feet and go quiet. Luckily for these ones, they are behind a section of our protective dead hedge.
So the dead hedges along this short stretch serve three functions: the construction of refuge and habitats for wildlife, the safeguarding of species from the inadvertent adverse effects of dog flea treatment, and a defence against the thoughtless removal of frog spawn threatening an entire population of a colony of frogs.
Because frogs they're genetically programmed to return to their spawning ground to spawn again, and so we have a race of frogs here which has been depredated very, very badly, and what we've got now is probably got 50 to 100. And that population is even more vulnerable to any shocks which could come from weather. It could dry out. There could be a flood that washes the spawn away, and then when the flood subsides, the spawn's on dry land. We have got natural predators. We have like a little egret, we'll have a heron come down. Frogs, foxes will eat it. It's all protein, isn't it, frog spawn? What it is not koi carp food, and that is what the people who took it probably used it for. Words fail me. Okay. I won't have it recorded.
Just as well.
But so basically it has deprived people of being able to come down here peacefully and quietly enjoy the place, bring their kids down and they can hear the frogs, they can see them, they can see the spawn from now. Look, there's two people down there that have spotted a larger group of frogs breeding, and they're pointing and looking and they're enjoying seeing them. If a dog comes and jumps in there and trashes that, they will be deprived of being able to have that experience.
Stephen is keen to serve the balance between the natural indigenous flora and fauna and the needs and interests of neighbours and visitors. He has some interesting ideas that maybe someone could work alongside the Warwickshire Wildlife Trust to test and perhaps develop.
Our grasslands are all, we cut them, we brush cut them. You can't use a mulching mower because obviously you're mulching it. So we cut it with brush cutters so that it can be raked and pitchforked and put into piles. So we have plenty of potential for a community composting scheme down here. At the moment, compost comes in plastic bags and is taken to garden centres and charged a fortune for. There's an awful lot of vehicle miles and that invested in it. We could have a local composting industry here. So it's not an us and them thing, it's an us thing. We just need to be making the communication Yeah. I mean, it can all work for everybody's benefit. It would be good if one of the local environmental organisations like the Eco Hub or the Gardeners Guild could try and set up a community composting scheme.
Interesting. Any takers? Get in touch with the Warwickshire Wildlife Trust and see if somebody can make that happen. Well, as the secret of this singular landscape spreads, there are plenty of recreational users and others too.
Well, it's a national cycle route. National cycle route 41. Yes, plenty of walkers, joggers, people that come down here just to peacefully enjoy the wildlife and the ambience.
And are there artists beginning to find their way down here and use the space as a part of their art?
There is a nice lady who forages for materials to make natural dyes. There will be photographers. I have seen somebody down here under the bridge at Ashnorn Road with an easel set up doing a watercolour picture of the bridge. Also, there is a lot of potential, especially where we've been coppicing the willow in the marsh for materials that can be of use, traditional coppice materials. There could be basket weaving or willow weaving done as an activity. These willows here that are 2 or 3 years old are very long straight poles. Now people buy bamboo canes. They pay money for bamboo canes for their gardening. Pea sticks. Yeah, we've got pea sticks.
Right, so you should set up a
You could even come and, well, as I say, I mean, once again, if you like, it's a wider opportunity for more people to be involved in the management of the site. We could get together, we could work out by mutual agreement where the best place to be coppicing the next section would be and run it.
I thanked Stephen for his time. We'd interrupted the day's work long enough. He and his volunteer group do sterling work, appreciated by the vast majority of locals who use the old line for whatever reason. It has a natural beauty and strength of character that draws you along and refreshes parts that more formal civic landscapes cannot reach. To do with perhaps the history that is so clearly there in the profile of the cutting, in the structures, the bridges and the platform of the old Rugby Central Station, pointing you south to London and north to Loughborough and Leicester and beyond, where, by the way, I hear there is a working section of the old route, complete with regular runnings of the old locomotives that you can almost imagine hearing still, if the frogs weren't quite so noisy. Okay, we've pretty much reached the end of this podcast, and thank you so much for staying with it. I publish it once a week, every Friday morning, so if you click follow next to Rugby News, or one word, on any of the podcast platforms, you should get a notification when a new one drops, so make sure you do follow. I hope you liked what you heard, found it useful, and you want more, and if you did, others will too, so share the news and spread the word by sharing the Facebook posts and telling your friends about Rugby News, or one word. Any ideas to make it better, of course, let me know. After all, it is your town, your people. Reach me on email simon.rugby.news@gmail.com. Okay, I've been Simon. Goodbye.